Do you fall in love with Indonesian women? Are you aware what they expect from you after you get married? If you answer no to the second question, then this video is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Hendra. I was born and grew up in Jakarta, Indonesia. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 cultural things that you need to be aware of before you marry Indonesian women. Before I start, let me sound the disclaimer alarm. Right. This video is based on my own personal observation interacting with Indonesian women, so please take it with a massive grain of salt. Without further ado, let's go to rule number 1. Rule number 1. Marriage is a sacred union. It's funny that I have to mention this, because in Western countries like Australia, what I notice is that marriage is usually seen as a legal contract between a couple and the government. It's common for a couple to live together for years without getting married. We call it de facto relationship in Australia, and it's treated the same way as a legally married couple. A friend of mine has been living together for years, and I can tell that they love each other. So I asked them, why don't you just get married? And they said, why do we need a piece of paper to prove our love? I was shocked at the time because for us Indonesians, marriage is something that is sanctioned by God. It means it has to be done properly in the context of religions. That means no sex before marriage, not living in together before marriage, and definitely not getting pregnant before marriage. And if you don't share the same religions, religion conversion is expected. Indonesians generally despise de facto relationship, or as we call it, kumpul kebo. It brings shame to the family, and general public might even call a police if they see an unmarried couple share the same room together. If you are a Westerner watching this, you might be thinking, don't we have a privacy right at all? Oh yeah, of course we do. But you need to remember that your privacy right is not above the Indonesian social norm. Kumpul kebo, having sex before marriage, definitely happen in Indonesia. But the difference is that the couple, normally they go and get married officially. But in Western countries, they can just keep the de facto relationship forever, indefinitely. Rule number 2. You marry her family and her problems too. In Western cultures, when you get married, you just marry the person right in front of you. But for Indonesians, and I suspect for most Asian culture as well, you marry her family and her problems too. Like for example, I need to call my in-laws mom and dad, and they expect me to treat me the same way as I treat my parents. Well, good luck to them because I'm not close to my parents. Actually, the best way to send a signal to your girl that you're really serious is by introducing your parents to your future in-laws. Because two my families meet together, it means that you're really serious to take it to the next level. And when you meet your future in-law for the first time, don't be surprised if they ask you millions of questions that sound irrelevant, like what your parents do for a living, even though you are the one who is going to marry their daughters. They just want to know your Bibit, Bebet, Bobot. It's like a general assessment on your character and suitability, because after all, you will become the son. Also, you can expect your in-laws to have a say from the day of your wedding preparations all the way to your married life, like who to invite. Well, we invited like 150 guests on my wedding day, and I don't even recognize 90% of them because majority of them are invited by my parents or in-laws. And yes, I still have to pay for that. And because Indonesian weddings can go up to 1,000 guests, so you need to be prepared for that as well. And one more thing about this rule, because Indonesian doesn't have a social safety net like Centrelink like we have in Australia, so it's not uncommon for the relative back home to ask for allowance just to get by. A Western man might find it shocking that a portion of his income is sent overseas, especially if the wife is not working. And guess what? Her problem is now your problem too. But on the flip side, if you have any problem, they will jump to it right away to help you out because now you are part of the family. Rule number 3, no kids, no marriage. In Western countries, whether you want to have kids or being child-free is a complete personal choice. Because after all, you are the one who is going to wake up every 2 or 3 hours and pay for the kids, right? Sure, there will always be some exceptions, like what happened to the first Australian female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard. People judge her just because she decided not to have kids. It also happened to the colleagues of mine. First year of his marriage is like hell. His relatives kept asking, when are you going to have kids? Are you sure you are not going to regret? Do you know what you are going to miss out if you don't have a kids? But after a while, they move on and they keep their private life private. But how about Indonesians? Well, if you tell people that you want to get married but you don't want to have kids, it's like having nasi goreng, fried rice, without nasi rice. People will say things like, what's wrong with you? Or maybe God doesn't think you're ready. Often, the whole point of getting married itself is to have kids. You see, Indonesians see kids as a blessing, karunia, or anugerah. There is a lot of news written in Bahasa Indonesia in this tone. Like this article, for example, Cleric Abdul Somad is blessed a son. Back in high school, I remember my teacher said, Meneruskan keturunan. To have an offspring is a duty of mankind. And this was in early 2000s where the world population just reached 6 billion. And this belief is still widely held for traditional or religious reason. And don't be surprised if your in-laws demand to have grandkids by saying things like, nggak sabar pengen ngomong cucu. I can't wait to cuddle my grandkids. Well, what if you don't want to have kids? If you plan to live in Indonesia permanently, then don't get married, unless you don't mind people gossiping behind you. Or if you can live overseas, and that's even better, so you can live your life in peace. Rule number 4, you are expected to lead and be the main breadwinner. I know, man being the main winner is nothing new. It exists in most cultures for centuries. But the difference I notice is that Indonesian women with college degree, once they get married or have kids, they don't get their career to just a job. From professional, earning like 6-figure salaries, to admin role. And this is not necessarily because lack of support. Their husbands support their career aspirations. They're happy to step up with the housework and raising the kids. So this is not necessarily because of lack of support. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. And obviously, it doesn't apply to all Indonesian women. I know some Indonesian women at my work. They hold senior roles while raising 2 young kids without extended family help. But they are the minority as far as I can see. Ask any career Indonesian women, what's their plan after they get married? Most likely they will say, Ikut suami aja. I just follow my husbands. And there's also a running joke in Indonesia. Bosen kerja, kawin aja. Are you bored of working? Then go and get married. One of the career women that I know, she was asked by the relative, you have kids, you are married, and you're still working. What happened? Is that because your husband is not earning enough? Well, it seems that career, kids, they can't go together in her relative mind. Indonesian womanhood is still largely defined by her role at home supporting the husband. You see, husband in Indonesia culture is seen as a kepala keluarga, head of the family, and imam keluarga, spiritual leader of the family, so to speak. A husband is expected to lead and provide for the family. And this is enshrined in Indonesian Marriage Act as well. And I have never seen a wife is assigned as kepala keluarga, head of the family, on Indonesian family card, or as we call it, kartu keluarga. From Western point of view, this might sound like a blatant gender inequality for women to pursue their own career and aspirations. But I'm pretty sure you will find some people out there saying Indonesian women actually live a better life compared to Western counterparts. Middle class Indonesian women can become Nyonya rumah, a boss in the house with the servants at her disposals. The same can be said to Western women. I'm not suggesting that Indonesian women just want to have it easy or have no ambitions. No, I'm not suggesting it at all. They are capable of achieving great things, like our former maritime and business women, Ibu Susi Panji Astuti is one of them. And of course, I need to mention our current finance minister, Ibu Sri Mulyani. She overhauled our tax system and she was voted 3 times in a row as Finance Minister of the Year. Highly educated and independent women I know would either live overseas if they have a chance. If they can't, they will try to live in the big cities like Jakarta or Surabaya, where they are more likely to meet someone, a man, open-minded man, who treat them as a true equals, support their career aspirations, and make a joint decision together. That's it from me, guys. Please give it a like and subscribe if you learned something new. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.